Welcome everyone. I would like to declare the meeting open at 6:33 p.m. We would like to acknowledge this land that we meet on today as the traditional lands for the Gawler people, and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Gawler people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region, and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Gawler people today. So, roll call. Got that? So we have Nathan, Shanks and Angus in apology. Yes. Great. Motions to about leave of absence. Leave, do I have to say leave of absence? Leave of absence. Non-attendance. Talon. Item 3, declarations of interest. I don't think so. And confirmation of minutes. So could I please have a mover and seconder from the minutes from February? Jack and Brenna, thank you. Oh, all those in favour? Unanimously carried. All right. Business arriving from minutes. Isaac?
I'll just, I think this is a proper time for this brief. I have a motion which relates to the answers from questions for, which are in the minutes of the last agenda. Do I move that now or wait until motions without notice?
Okay. Moving on to items listed for discussion. I'm adding in a item which is a chairperson update. So I had a meeting with the mayor today, which went really well, just to kind of introduce myself as the new chair. And yeah, she provided me some good tips, and I'm excited to take on this new position within the committee. I also just wanted to let the YAC know that I have requested a meeting with the Commissioner for Children and Young People when she comes along. Is it in April? Yes. On the 12th of April, which will be good. I just want to reiterate to her what's important to young people and represent the YAC on a personal, formal level. All right. Don't have to do anything else with that. Can we move on? Okay, so item 6.2, the Climate Emergency Action Plan Working Group update and presentation. We're doing the update first. Or the presentation update first. Okay, so I'd like to call upon Jay to provide an update for that, please. Okay, so we had the meeting on the 10th of February, and Renee and I were both brand new to this working group, so we spent a fair time just talking about what the action plan was and how it would basically affect Gawler. We discussed potentially allowing more than 2 YAC members to be on this committee if needed. This will be discussed at future meetings, I assume. Talked about, well, one main thing I remember we talked about is an LED lighting project, which was a street lighting switch, which would help Gawler get to zero emissions by approximately 2020 by using renewable energy and cost efficiency. And yeah, we just talked about a bunch of cool things I'd never heard of before. So yeah. So yeah, we're fortunate enough to have a couple of the members along tonight to do a presentation for us. Would you like to come up?
Power buttons are wonderful things. Yeah, well, I'm really pleased to present to you tonight. Several attempts. One of them to present to you the actual plan sort of full as we'd hoped. So it's a great time to do it. I'll just run through, I guess, I'm going to communicate the structure of the plan, process, discuss with you what I think is a really good idea, but support and feedback. So I'll just go through this now. So this is an updated kind of process flow chart that we had when I joined the team at Gawler in late 2019. The action plan was established in June. That followed the declaration of a climate emergency by the town of Gawler in January 2019, so it was pretty exciting. It was the first local government in South Australia to declare a climate emergency. And at that stage we outlined the things that we will do. I've just changed the language a little bit because a lot of things we have done. So the working group's been developing a climate change action plan. And today this has involved limited targeted engagement, data collection and research, particularly on a whole lot of the options, because when it goes to our executive committee and to the council, there needs to be dollars and cents and realistic and plausible actions that can be implemented. If they're not realistic and plausible or you can't afford them, then that would be a problem, or the council need to have full disclosure of what the cost might be. So we've been developing priority areas for action and robust responses to climate issues that have been identified. So investigating those feasibility and options, that takes a bit of time. The upgrade project is a classic example of that. We needed to do a financial case, and it was really interesting that the numbers stacked up so well. The actions that aren't yet complete, we're meeting with the executive group and elected members on the draft plan for the first time this week, tomorrow night. So it's the first time they've had a chance to see the whole draft plan, and we're hoping it goes really well because there's a lot of positive ideas and actions in there, but no doubt there'll be discussions and tweaks and things like that, which we have to sort out before we go out to public consultation. And we haven't done that community engagement and further targeted engagement. So there's a number of groups we've identified. The Aboriginal community, we've met with the Aboriginal Reconciliation Group, but we haven't done enough in that space. We haven't met enough. That's a number of people have interest in this. In post-community consultation, we had to incorporate the feedback, assess all of the constraints and impacts, develop and ask the council to consider and adopt it. Present and former members, I won't read them all out, you can see them up there, but it has been a committee that's evolved over time. So we have had a number of councillors on the committee. There's 3 councillors on the committee at the moment. And we were joined by Renee and Jade at the last meeting as observers, and now I can say they're full members, so we're really pleased that that's happened, and really want to provide you the briefings that you need and really start working and collaborating together. So the scope and structure of the Climate Emergency Action Plan, it's pretty simple really. We want to support the community to be able to reduce their emissions and adapt to climate change. We'll put the community first. That we've got very clear feedback from councillors on the community and other groups. So it needs to be a community first plan. So how we're helping communities achieve it is really important. It's 99% of the emissions in the town of Gawler anyway. So it is an area that we need to focus a lot of attention. But then once the council's put its own weight, we can tell others to do certain things unless we're leading by example. So reducing emissions in council operations is really important. Understanding the risks of adapting to climate change is the other work that we really have to do well. As we face more heat waves, bushfires, it's also very prone to flooding events
So we need to address all of those types of things. And the business impacts, there's changing economies as a result of climate change and changing market expectations. Engagement and advocacy is really important because once we've established a plan, for that, we need to be acting on behalf of our communities, addressing the barriers for change. Why is it that renewable energy is cheaper to produce now, but it's more expensive to buy? And how can we actually help change that around? And advocate for reforms as necessary. Plus, we need to be engaging with communities once we've got the plan out there to enlist their support and collaboration and keep this conversation going. We've done some emissions profiles, and we had no emissions profiles for the town of Gawler in 2019. We initially did a trial inventory for council emissions, but then other councils were asking for town-wide or council-wide emissions. They have been done in a number of councils using ABS data and standard methodologies, but they haven't been put together for one of South Australia's councils. So a number of us banded together and said, well, what if we engage this company that's done it before to come up with a price so that we can all reduce costs and share the ideas? They came up with a method and said, yes, we can do that. But if we actually get a few more councils involved, we'll do it for the whole of South Australia. So that was a really good exercise in collaboration. We managed to get, for a really good price, we got all of the councils in South Australia to have a community emissions snapshot based on the ABS data, and it really helps inform us of where we're at. So for Team 4, in this profile, which is our baseline year, 2018, it was 170,900 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent, and in that one, you saw transport is really high. That reflects the nature of Gawler as a kind of satellite town with lots of transport involved. But it's changing a little bit, and we're getting updated profiles all the time. We've also changed it from calendar years to financial years to align with what the councils are doing. So we'll pick a baseline, and that will change through time. Council operational emissions, so we've calculated that. We've used all our electricity emissions, electricity consumption data, our transport, diesel, petrol consumption data, natural gas consumption. We've estimated for office waste. We've looked at embodied emissions for water, and SA Water were very helpful. It actually gave us an emissions rate for consumption of water, so we've got good data for that now. Gas inventory, and we're updating that every year. So for time, we'll see how that changes. For Gawler, so our emissions are about 1,652 in this assessment, and that is, like I said, 1% of total town of Gawler emissions. And interestingly, street lighting electricity is a really huge one, and council reported electricity is a big one. Put those two together, and it's electricity which is causing over half of our greenhouse gas emissions. One of the things that Mike Cannon-Brooks said on Q&A last year, I don't know if anybody saw it, but there was a really good episode on climate change, and he said, electrify everything and do it with renewables. It was a really simple policy, and it's a way to really cut back your greenhouse gas emissions. So we could, if we get 100% renewables for council operations, we could really reduce our by half. We also tackle transport, diesel and petrol emissions as well, and electrify our vehicle fleet to be another big dent in that. If we can cut back on natural gas use at, say, switching with PEM over to heat pumps instead of gas consumption in a couple of years' time, we could reduce natural gas use and reduce those emissions as well. And then you start to get into the much smaller, which will be harder to tackle one by one, but we've made substantial progress. So we've got a mission that we've proposed in the Climate Emergency Action Plan, and that is for a safe climate for people, our economy and ecosystems, to taking local action and supporting a global emergency response to climate change. someone say, well, why are you declaring a climate emergency? What difference does it make? Or why should others declare a climate emergency? And as part of this global movement, if we can get every council to declare a climate emergency, encourage the LGA to declare a climate emergency, the House has already declared a climate emergency. If we get the lower state of Parliament to declare a climate emergency, that's South Australia done. We can get the federal parliament to declare a climate emergency. What it does, it gets everybody on the same page. We've seen the President, Joe Biden, talk about a climate crisis. So he's using not the same language, but it means the same thing, addressing the climate crisis. Key goals that we've seen come out of it, which we're pretty confident we can achieve, is 100% renewable electricity for council by 2023. That's subject to a new electricity contract, and carbon neutral council operations by 2030. It's harder to actually put targets and goals around community emissions because we don't have direct control over community emissions. So in that area, they're very aspirational targets, if you like. The key action areas, we've got them for community, transition to 100% renewables, supporting transition to electric vehicles, all those things. Local walking and cycling, and I think that one's a Jack Gill specialty. We can put that into the plan, supporting energy efficiency for community and business, community engagement, education, collaboration. Cooler and green infrastructure is really important, particularly as we face these hotter periods during summer, the more severe heat waves. On chemical operations, there's a huge opportunity for reducing costs through greater energy efficiency. Obviously, we'd like renewable electricity for council, renewable electricity for vehicles, green procurement, attacking climate change, and engagement and advocacy. So that's the plan in a nutshell. There's much detail, more detailed actions, which say in the appendix to the Climate Emergency Action Plan, and we could bring that afterwards up on the screen afterwards for a quick look. Communicating the complex is something I'm terrible at, and we need to sort of break down what we're doing into bite-sized pieces. So we've looked at preparing the Climate Emergency Action Plan, which is a 48-page document at the moment, and we've been advised that, look, we really need to communicate key messages in a brochure that's no more than 4 pages long, 2 sides of an A3. So we've tried to do that, and we've gone out to market and got some graphic design ideas as well. And then we've also been told, well, suggested strongly by some of our councillors, we need to go even clearer than that. There are single issues that you should communicate really well, and we need to use simple language. We need to make it relevant. We need to show where there are benefits and costs and all those sorts of things. So we've got this idea about 1 pages. This one's an example of the public lighting project, just really spelling out how we've taken the feedback on board to make the communication simple. So showing a solution and a pathway to zero emissions is really important. Contextualising it, communicating the costs and the benefits is really important. And then relating back to communities, showing that community and households can do something similar. So that's the bit of the psychology around the way we've tried to structure some of our communications, and that will continue. We've also got supporting communities, we've also got the electric vehicle transition and some other things to do around that, and every time we come up with a new action, we can do a 1-page summary of it. Now here's the thing that I'm really, this is the last slide really, and I'm really keen to discuss this with you about what engaging with emerging and future generations is really important. We're at this space right now because around the world there was a global movement of younger people that said, we're not doing enough, we have to do a lot more, this is a climate emergency. Greta Thunberg said, you know, whatever we've done, it's nowhere near enough. And we had the school strikes. During the school strike in Adelaide, the only council to actually walk in with the young people of today. And it was clear that there was a determination and a desire for our young people to lead the way. We should be supporting them, not showing away from it. So the idea is, could this climate emergency action plan be crafted as an agreement between the current generation and the future generations as represented by the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee? And what would this mean for something that you could support? I'll let you sort of discuss what that might be. But to me, it strikes me as a way to turn what could be a similar document that, heaven forbid, ends up on the shelf, but this would give it a life of its own, so it never ends up sitting on the shelf. It's always being looked at and acted upon. That was all I had in my slides to open tonight, so thank you very much and happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions? Jack?
So, Tim, I was just curious because you said that 55% of the emissions for the town as a whole is transport. And I was just wondering, with the electrification of the train, what do you sort of expect that to drop the percentage by in terms of just, petrol and diesel emissions?
Short answer is I don't know. Certainly one that's come up in the action plan because it's electrified with accredited electricity. It effectively creates that as a zero emissions operation for the train, which makes a really strong promotional and marketing message. So we're better off catching the train than driving a car because the emissions footprint is effectively zero. Obviously, the train line's going to be finished, but the state government have actually made a commitment for transit trains to be made renewable by 2021. There's different interpretations on what that means at the moment, and they haven't quite landed it. So we're still optimistic that we can get that because I think it's really important. And it's a huge number of trips per year that the train caters for. And every time we take that huge number of customers off the road, you're saving heaps of emissions. The train is just a no-brainer for that.
Awesome, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you for coming in tonight and sharing that presentation with us. It's very beneficial for all of us, and I look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next item listed for discussion, the Youth Advisory Panel update. Okay. So moving on to the next item is the Youth Development Officer verbal update. Please, Debbie. Thank you. So basically on the council meeting on the 23rd of February, recommendations went forward in that meeting, and the chair, which is Renee, was appointed, and obviously Deputy Chair Jack Gill was also appointed. And then we had appointment of members, which is Alexander Pryor and Abby Dale. And we also had Brenna Carmichael and Darcy Hancock, which are returning members which was passed. And then we had the terms of reference was also carried anonymously. So that was in the last council meeting on the 23rd of February. In the update of the youth space, what's been happening in there? We currently have 49 enrolments, which is our memberships that are either renewal. We have 25 renewal and 25 new. Last year at the same time we had 20 enrolments, so we can see that we have increased obviously at the same time from last year. So that's quite a big increase. With term programs, we still obviously have the same term programs, but we're obviously having great attendance all around. They're basically booked out each week, which is fantastic to see that they're so popular.
The Fringe, thank you so much for everyone that came in on the 20th of February. Those of you that did come, that was fantastic to see. Over half the committee came, which is really great for you guys to be involved and show how dedicated you are. Even if it was just coming in, making cupcakes, and some volunteered for the whole day and others played chess and lots of stuff happening. So it was really positive feedback from the community. We also had our WAG rug being made on the day and some friendship bracelets, which is really great. And it was really nice to see some new people access the space that I've not met before, and lots of people saying that they didn't know about the program. So it was a really good opportunity about that as well. And then we have got also on your tables, you've got the Fringe event for this Saturday, which is in the park, and we'll be over there as well. So if you can come over and volunteer, please see me after and let me know. We'd love to see you over there. We'll be taking our giant checkers and also doing our surveys for the Commissioners' conversations as well. So we'd love to see as many people over there. At the moment for April school holidays, we're just finalising our programs, and we will I'll post those on our Facebook site for you to be able to see very shortly. The skate park competition on the 17th of April, we are slowly getting there with all of the COVID restrictions and getting that ready. So we'll have that announced very soon and call for any volunteers that can attend on the day as well. And obviously Term 2 programs are underway, getting planned, so lots of planning going on at the moment. We are keeping our music program and obviously open for suggestions with other programs. So we are hoping that we can tee up some Dungeons and Dragons, which was a really popular thing in the school holidays, and obviously has a lot of imagination and a lot of other things behind that as well. The next thing on here is the sponsorships. Obviously that will close on the 1st of April, so we will then come back next meeting and let you know of any applicants and go from there. And obviously Youth Week has finally been announced. It's a little bit different for the first time. It's going to be in the school week of May, from the 2nd to the 9th of May. So we'll look and plan to do something in that week. So we'll get back to you on that as soon as the plans are in place, and we'll be excited. That will be really exciting. The next thing on here is I would like to wish both Jack and Renee all the best. They're both being nominated for 7 News Young Achiever Awards. They're both obviously in different categories, different age categories, but that's really great, and it's nice to have 2 members of our committee up for those awards. So let's see what happens there. We also have anyone, if you're interested in attending a youth leadership program, we have Rotary Light, anyone over the age of 18, they have a sponsorship that you are welcome to come and talk to me about, and we can obviously send someone for that. We've got 1 member already going for the Rotary Light program of leadership. Right, thank you very much. That's all from me. Commissioner, sorry, that's all from the youth update, and now the Commissioner's communication conversations. So this is the grant funding that we have obviously received. So we launched that on the 20th. So thank you so much. Everyone attended on the 12th of April, which was fantastic. Got to enjoy some pizzas and see some great ideas. Put the survey together and launched it. The first day we had 41 people complete the survey, which was quite good, I think, for the first day. With everything going on at Fringe, it was a little bit difficult as well, but also it was great to see people wanting to be involved. We also launched our social media, and we went over to the Sports Centre last Wednesday, the 24th and 26th. And so far we've had 100 people complete the survey, which is really great. So in a short time we've had 100 people, and we're really looking forward to being at the Fringe on the 6th of March and seeing if we can get to, our goal by the time we meet the Commissioner in April. So we will be hoping we can do that. On the 15th of March, we will be at the swimming centre, the Gawler Aquatic Centre, so another drop-in point and we're hoping collecting some surveys from some different youth that attend maybe some swimming programs or squad training, anything like that as well. So we'll be over there. And then obviously the 12th of April, if you can let us know. If you are able to attend, we would love to have as many of you as possible attend and obviously get to meet the Commissioner for Children and Young People as well. Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions on any of that? Jay?
So we spoke briefly about this at the workshop that we had, but will this survey be going out to schools to get a larger youth input?
Yes, it will go out to the schools, so that's one of the things that will go out this week. It is on social media and a lot of people have already answered from schools. Some of the youth have already shared, so if you follow the post, there's a lot of people obviously from our committee that goes to different schools and have already shared the QR code, but there is actually posters being mailed out and emailed out to the schools this week as well.
With that Rotary Leadership Program, was that for 18 and over or like anyone over 18?
So yes, 18 and up, so 18 to 26 it is, yes. They've already got one in the under category, so they're willing to sponsor someone older.
Any other questions? Which schools are the surveys going out to?
They will go out to all the schools in the Gawler district area, so all of our areas. So yeah, the same ones that everything goes out to, like all the ones in our area.
Any other questions for Deb? No? Okay. Thank you, Deb. Moving on to the vehicle on road testing, item 6.5. Thank you, Isaac.
Can I, well, just to update the committee quickly, actually first can I move that item be taken off the agenda for future meetings, because I think the next item covers that pretty well.
Okay, so moving on to the next item is the Gawler Youth's accessibility to transport. Thanks, Isaac.
Cool. So just as an update, I did email the Mayor today just to double check that we haven't received any response from the Minister from the 1st of October 2020 when we sent our last letter. So just emailed to double check that. But apart from that, we've completed the survey that's going to be the primary part of our consultation. Jack and I are still working through some of the technical difficulties with that, unfortunately. But we also have began to draft a media release and some of the letters, but we still do need to do that part. We met a little while ago, discuss what needs to be done, and so we'll probably have a bit of a photo shoot somewhere at front of a train station or something, just so we can attach that to the media release. But apart from that, everything is all underway, and hopefully we'll get something out soon. The only other thing, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, discussions on that topic? No? Okay. Moving on to the Bike Month Subcommittee. Jack?
Thank you.
Thank you. It's going to be a pretty short update because we haven't met yet. The subcommittee was only approved by council last Tuesday, and we're planning on having a meeting tomorrow night at the rec centre. And after this meeting, we'll have a quick sort of just update just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And yeah, it's looking to be a good program just from the initial sort of energy of everyone. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you. Any other questions on that topic? No? Okay.
Moving on to the youth space-based traineeship program, Councillor Davies, do you have an update on that?
So basically we're in the early stages of budget discussion. We've had an initial overview so far, just looking over charts and stuff, but the actual digging into individual items and whether they should go above the line, that is get paid for, or below the line, which is not get in. We haven't had that discussion yet, so I think it would be good to have. What happened last year was that the chair came along to a meeting and spoke about it with some youth members in the gallery, and so yeah, we've still got a couple of months on that, but just in some time in that upcoming period, Aaron might be able to have a more detailed time period there.
Through the chair, probably the question, Councillor Davies, is whether we want to do that separately, like we did last time through the CCS committee, or whether or not we do that when public submissions for the budget come in. Potentially, because we did CCS last time, it might be good to do full council and do the budget submission process, where Renee could make a deputation on the night. That might be the way to potentially go about it if you're comfortable with that, and we can organise the time and make sure you're part of that agenda so you've got a chance to speak.
More than willing to do that. Isaac?
Just on top of that, I had a quick chat with Renee prior to the meeting, but Councillor Shank's idea of approaching elected members and asking specifically what they would like is something we'll probably talk about in the next week or so. So if we just write even if it's just writing letters from Renee or from myself about for feedback on the motion or what we did right or wrong in the deputation last time, like Councillor Shank suggested. I think that'd be a good way to move forward and then decide how we're going to approach it going into the budget months.
Alex?
Sorry for my ignorance, but could I just get a quick overview of what the traineeship entails? And what that budget?
Yeah. Would you like to explain it, Isaac?
Yeah, no worries. So last year, I think it was early last year, might have been November the year before, there was an idea that because the youth space was expanding and there was lots going on, there was an idea that a trainee could come in and make up one of the youth space staff. So trainees usually undertake a qualification while they're working. So we did up a business case. We formed a subgroup, and we did up that was sort of the first subgroup that was ever formed. And then we did a business case, and we outlined everything that needs to go into that, and then that went towards a budget bid. I think it's about $50,000 was the estimated costing, so that's things like wages, paying for the qualification, that kind of thing. It went to the Corporate and Community Services Committee, that's what CCS stands for, yeah. It went to the Corporate and Community Services Committee last year to be developed into a budget bid, which is, like Councillor Davis said, budget bids make up the budget, and what's above the line gets in the budget, what's below is deemed as not being as important as the stuff above the line. Unfortunately, due to COVID, it fell below the line, and so Council suggested we resubmit it this year. I think it was the mayor that suggested that, and so we're last meeting, we put a motion saying that we're still interested in presenting that, so it will be sent back in as a budget bid for $50,000 to basically create a traineeship. Also, the other thing is no one in the committee can be that trainee. That was one of the things that was established early on just because of conflict of interest. But it's a great opportunity for any other young people in the town of Gawler.
Thank you. Did that answer your question, Alex? Great. Any other questions or comments? All right. Items listed for discussion at future meetings? No? Okay. Yes, Councillor Davies.
So just on the final slide of the presentation we got before about ways in which the youth committee and climate action can be intertwined in the future, I think that's something to put up for future discussion.
Any other questions or comments? No, okay. Hold on. Questions without notice? I know, it's the first place I looked. All right. Motions without notice? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And my apologies for this one because I was actually going to put it on notice, but I have been out of action for the better part of a week because I had my wisdom teeth removed, so I was a bit late. But I've got the motion here, so I'll just read it to the committee. It's just in relation to the questions that I asked at the last meeting. So the question is reference to questions 9.2, 9.3 and 9.4 about tourism in the town of Gawler. And it's just a proposal because obviously tourism makes up an important part of an important part of creating opportunities for young people. I've drafted this motion. Also for context, Jack and I also did a 10-day, what was it called? It was, that Our Town workshop, which was hosted by the RDA, Regional Development Australia. And we went through a lot of different things there, which were really good about tourism and opportunities for the town moving forward. And, and Jack and I talked to the groups quite a lot about what's in there for young people and how we create those opportunities. So in the spirit of that, I've drafted this motion, which is in light of the questions to answers 9.2, 9.3 and 9.4 taken on notice on the 1st of February 2021, the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee asked that Council 1A acknowledges the important role of local tourism in recovering from the effects of COVID-19. B, acknowledges the benefits of strong local tourism on young people, including but not limited to providing meaningful employment for young people, particularly through entry-level jobs, offering a diverse range of activities and social opportunities to families and individuals of all ages, raising awareness of what the town of Gawler has to offer, and creating a strong sense of local community. And 2, notes the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee's general support for budget items which promote strong local tourism and deliver the above-mentioned benefits. So that's in reference to the fact that in the last, when I asked the question and the answers, it was noted that currently a lot of the targets were unable to be met last year because there wasn't the operating budget to do a lot of the things that the town of Gawler set out to do. And I think moving forward, tourism is really somewhere where we can develop a lot of opportunities for young people. So I'll put that motion then.
Yes. Councillor Davies?
Well, just commentary, I guess, on the wording of the motion, just in terms of that little bit at the start is going to be a little confusing if councillors don't have access to the point of the memo you got.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Davies. And also, I would move as part of that the answers to the questions be attached to the answers to questions 9.2, 9.3 and 9.4 at least be attached to that motion for councillors' reference.
Thank you, Isaac. We have a question, Alex.
Just in relation to creating opportunity for youth through tourism and all of that, I wonder whether there is an opportunity for youth to have educational opportunities through that motion as well. My thoughts would be, stage 1 and 2 tourism students across Gawler. I think it would make an excellent education opportunity for them to sort of see what goes into tourism on a broader scale than looking up documents from the Adelaide Fringe. So yeah, just putting that idea forward.
Thank you, Alex, and I'm happy to amend the motion so that it reads as a fifth benefit, educational opportunities for tourism students in the town of Gawler, including, say, stage 1 and stage 2.
Thank you, Isaac. Jack?
Thank you. Just sort of explaining what Alex is saying. It's one of the themes that came from that Art Town workshop in my sort of breakout group was the need for sustained ecotourism, sort of utilising natural environment. So could that perhaps be another sort of element? So that way it sort of ties in with other policies such as the Town of Gawler Biodiversity Plan and potentially the SEEP if that's included in the future. Just to sort of bring home the point that tourism is a major part of what the town is.
Well said, thank you. Isaac?
Can I just have the motion back from the dash of the thing, just so I can rearrange it in my head? So, because so that it doesn't get overcrowded, I'll strike raising awareness of what the town of Gawler has to offer and replace that with an ecotourism related clause. So what did you have in mind, Jen?
Sorry, we have another question over down there first. If Jack, you wouldn't mind holding on for just a second. Alex?
I wonder whether that ecotourism viewpoint would be better off in a separate motion because it is such a broad spectrum of actions that can be taken.
Well, a question to Jack, I guess, is what did you have in mind for what we want to say about ecotourism to Gawler Council? Because if there is room for another motion, then we can definitely do that. But if it belongs as part of this motion, then we can include it in there. So it's up to you about what you want to encapsulate in that.
Right. So yeah, I totally agree that the motion was getting a bit crowded with the ecotourism element. I don't think it's necessarily worthwhile for a separate motion, but I thought perhaps it could sort of be incorporate even just sort of within the utilization of the natural environment or something like that. Just as sort of a post-COVID economic response. I mean, that's a common sort of policy that seems to be implemented. Just going to check out your surrounding area, check out your parks and national areas. So, yeah, I'm not sure. It doesn't mean to be explicitly here it is, but just so just maybe something for consideration, seeing it ties in with a lot of other elements. But yeah, happy for it to sort of be excluded for the sake of coherence and consistency.
Sorry, I'm not sure who pressed the button first, so I'm not sure who it's going to go to. Alex? While Tim is here, ecotourism, emergency climate action plan thing,
I feel like ecotourism is a pretty big thing to sort of tackle. I guess the question would be whether that would be added to the climate action plan.
Can I speak loudly?
Oh, and I can't hear you.
Through the chair. We have a couple of places where it could go, and I think it would be important to define exactly what we mean and go into a bit more detail. So we've got very much a business development type of area that fits in, and business development is a key stakeholder in the climate emergency action plan. So it can go there. Defining what is ecotourism, I think we would need to explore a little bit more, because a lot of things can go under that banner. What does it mean? Is it might be leaning on the button. It could mean things like renewable energy, carbon neutrality, but also it might mean location, native vegetation, clearance issues, and a whole lot of other things that would need to be taken into account who the target audience is. So I think we just, no problem with putting it in there, we just need to be a little bit careful what we wish for, and I'm happy to explore that further.
In that case, I'll propose a compromise in that, and thank you, Tim, for sharing that. I'll change raising the awareness of what the town of Gawler has to offer to raising awareness of the town of Gawler's unique natural environment and ecotourism opportunities, and also say that maybe we should revisit, some of us can have a chat and put a motion on notice for the next meeting about ecotourism opportunities and how we support them, along with the SEEP and some other stakeholders moving forwards. And so we can do that as a motion on the next one, but we'll include it in this one as well.
Thank you, Isaac. I'd just like to say that the questions on notice are available on the hub for elected members, so they won't need to be attached. And I also had a question just a bit off the topic from that. I was wondering, I'm a bit unsure of the processes and the clarification around this, but if we had more YAC members interested in joining the SEEP, I mean, I know that's something we talked about, and the SEEP was willing to endorse that, but does the YAC have to endorse that as well? And do we have to put a motion to council, or does the SEEP have to put a motion to council? We do.
Yeah, it's not a
Subcommittee. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. So
yeah.
sorry, thank you, I'm still learning. Councillor Davies.
Just wanted to mention, if we want to, because at the moment, the motion, I guess, it's all noting it doesn't have any actions in particular, but one action that we do have the power as a committee here is to commission a report, all that kind of thing. If we want to look into ecotourism and that sort of thing further, we can ask for something to come back to us or come back to council. And yeah.
And through the chair, might I suggest that we ask perhaps Kirsty Dudley, who's our special projects and tourism aficionado, to come along and have a bit of a chat about that first, and then we can see where a report might take us, because I know obviously as Isaac's raising, resourcing wise, we're quite light in that area. That might be a good way to start, potentially.
So just as a final, just before I move the motion, so thank you to everyone, because I think it's the most robust amendment to a motion we've had in quite a while. So thank you everyone for the input. But so yeah, I think something like that definitely is something that needs to be investigated thoroughly, and it does need to be put on notice. It's probably not something we can do with a motion without notice, just because of how much work and resources that would take. But thank you everyone, and I'll now move that motion as amended, so adding in educational opportunities, striking out the awareness of what the town of Gawler has to offer, and including raising awareness of the unique natural environment and ecotourism opportunities.
Thank you. I'd like to request a mover and a seconder for that motion, please. Oh, okay, sorry. Alex moved it and a seconder, please. Alex? All right. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. I'd just like to bring our attention back to the seat if we're finished with that one. So I'd just like to get hands up if you're interested in joining the Climate Emergency Action Plan. Alex? Yep. And Grace? Yep. Okay. So, put a motion forward. Alright, so I'd like to recommend that the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee recommends to Council that Alex and Grace be appointed to the Climate Emergency Action Plan Working Group as member representatives of the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee for a term of 1 year. Councillor Davies?
So I think the point one to that might have to be that we amend the what's it called, the terms of reference, because it currently allows a maximum of 2 Youth Advisory Committee members. So that way we're following the procedures of saying that we're expanding the number of maximum youth members from 2 to 4, and then point 2 that these are the people we're recommending.
So how do we... So can I please have a mover and a seconder to allow Alex and Grace to join the seat? Jack and Jay? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Do I have to do anything with this? Okay, I see. All right, is there any other motions without notice? No. Okay, in that case, I'd like to close the meeting at 7:31 p.m, please. The next ordinary meeting is on Monday, the 3rd of May, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Thanks for coming, everyone.